Thanks, Joe. 9:02, okay. Do a roll call. Joe?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
Bob here. We have a quorum.
I'd like to mention that since the last meeting, we had three cases here: Sandridge Midstream Inc., Sandridge E&P, and the BCE MOC. I think the simplest one, Jeff and I have reached an agreement on the asset listing. He gave us the information concerning the sale of generators and the compressors for Sandridge Midstream. And we went to all of the locations. Ben went out to all the locations and verified that the compressors and the generators were removed from there. So I just handed out, Jeff, what I sent you on the value for the Sandridge Midstream. We recommend the value for Sandridge Midstream of $3,530,925. You concur with that, Jeff?
I concur, Jerry. Thank you.
You have. So that takes care of that one. So then we have the two other issues for the BCE MOC and the Sandridge E&P. So I think the BCE MOC had to do with them sending the purchase and sales agreements for us to do, and they sent a confidentiality agreement that the county attorneys recommended that you not sign for there. So I think as far as the BCE MOC is concerned, which was the compressors and everything, we would recommend the value be upheld of $51,236,567 for that particular company. I think that's the simplest, and then we'll get into the issue with pipeline map and everything on the other one.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add.
So
What'd you say, Jeff?
I'd say I have nothing to add. It's a January 1 acquisition. The assets we believe aren't taxable, so we'll just report on that one. And I'll wait your ruling.
Okay.
So that, I guess, do you guys have a copy of that?
Well,
There's another copy right there. You can do that with the value. There's the back values, unless you have any questions or anything on that. This is the former Chesapeake operating assets last year. They had two different companies, Mid-Con Compression, and actually these were reported by Chesapeake Operating, but Jeff said there was a sale that they post-dated back to January 1, but we still believe that, of course, one, the pipelines and gathering systems are taxable, and the only other issue is the compressors, and the compressors were still being rented at that particular time, so that's still making them rental compressors, so that's why they're taxable.
Okay, so your number was the 51.
51,236,567.
Did you get full cooperation on everything that you needed there?
No, we didn't, because they couldn't give us the purchase and sales agreement and the purchase price allocation because they wanted to hold us to a different confidentiality agreement.
Okay.
So we don't have any of the documents that we had requested last meeting.
Right, yeah, you guys said you would, we would submit an NDA, you would sign it, so we're not providing it without that signature. It's a mutual thing there, so I am legally not bound to, or I can't provide that. I had to sign one to look at it myself, so.
Was that a standard NDA agreement? Was there any deviation between that NDA agreement and the other ones we've signed previously? Or any other equalization boards?
I wouldn't know what you guys have signed previously. I can't answer that.
Yeah, this was much more in depth. The there's Oklahoma statutes that hold all this stuff confidential, that you can't use this other, so you guys are bound by the confidentiality rules. The, even these lists and stuff that we have here aren't for public record. They can't come in and look at that. So there's already one of those, in place to do that. So this was something more, it went into more depth and several pages long, so.
But this is a public meeting.
Yeah.
It's a public meeting, but they couldn't obtain any copies of that particular, agreement or whatever, because it would be basically sealed.
I move we accepted your evaluation, $51,236,567.
I'll second that. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Let me drill down just a little bit more, not being antagonistic here. Jeff, was there any difference between this NDA agreement and the prior 5 NDA agreements you've had anybody sign?
Again, I wouldn't know that. I don't have other people sign. This is the one client that wanted me to have that signed. I'm bound by that. I can't provide any information because I signed the NDA myself.
Okay.
So, yeah, I agree that all information that is entered into at these hearings is confidential, even though they are open. However, the company, their company attorneys made all of us sign an NDA and required for anybody that sees it to sign the NDA. So, guys, that's out of my hand. I'm not trying to be difficult. These are the cards that I'm being able to play.
Okay, I appreciate your answer. It's fair enough.
Sure.
So that leaves us with what, Jerry? Exploration production?
Yeah, and that's where you guys, Chris asked for the map, and this is the map that was sent on it.
Was this inclusive of all assets?
No, this particular map, the map that was requested was a map of all the saltwater disposal wells and the pipelines, showing where the pipe and stuff comes from there. So this is neither doesn't have any pipeline on it, number one. And number two, this isn't all of the saltwater disposal wells that Sandridge has. So it's really...
Jeff, you care to respond to that?
Sure, Jared. This is to everyone. I request the information. I can assure everyone here, we're definitely not trying to hide anything. That's the map that I was able to get. We're probably on 4th or 5th engineer now, person that we are dealing with. The turnover out there is ridiculous. I hope you guys can appreciate that. But they're skeleton crews, and they're prioritizing. And I won't say that this isn't a priority, but with the manpower that they have, this is the map that they gave me. And all I can do is request it. And I'm trying to do it in all the counties where we have it. And maybe in timing, or maybe we're able to get it here in the next month or two. I'm not sure, but that's all that was provided to me, and I've requested multiple times.
I just want to point out, Jeff, that this is something that we asked for way back in March of this year.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, and
the two people that I'm dealing with since March, Jerry, are no longer there.
Okay. Well, I don't know how you expect us to.
I don't. I think we all are in disagreement here, and that's fine. I'll await the board order on this one, and we can move forward. I have no argument here.
Okay, hey, Jeff, I'm looking at the email on December the 5th. Here you point out, it's all I could get, besides we are taking taxable ability anyway, so not sure why the BOE that would be basically targeted towards me. Working interest holder wants to go out and look at the pipelines. Let me clarify that. I do not have, because I think you thought I might be a working interest owner in these pipelines or these wells. I do not have an interest in any of them that you've got listed or in anything in Woods County. I am an operator, I'm a non-operator, and I'm a mineral person, so I am very well acquainted with your procedure here.
I know you are.
So my point is, the reason why we wanted to look at a map is to determine what all wells were tied to these saltwater disposals, where the pipelines were, what easements were granted. Was it granted in the same name as Sand Ridge EP LLC, or is it under Sand Ridge Inc., which is a different component? And I know what your accounting procedures look like. So that was our purpose for asking for the detailed pipeline. Do you understand?
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to clarify that for the record, that, I don't have a conflict of interest here because I don't have any disposal well connections with Sand Ridge.
Now, you specifically said the last time, though, that being a working interest owner, though, that charges are pushed through for the water, and that, I believe that impacted all working interest holders, so there's a charge there and expenses and all that. So no, you do have a vested interest in this, and again, we can agree to disagree, and I'm fine with that. We'll deal with that at the next level.
Yeah, but I don't have anything that affects Sand Ridge's interest that we were talking about, and it appeared to me that you were taking the position that I might have a personal interest in what we're litigating here, and that's not the case.
Okay, again, we can agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, okay, well, I've got some Sand Ridge stock that I would sell you if you wanted it.
No comment.
So on this one here that we have, again, one of the reasons that we need the pipeline is I went back and again, this just started with the taxability issues whenever this tax rep took over, which was last year. Sand Ridge had always reported the wells, and they reported this volumes of water. Again, according to the Oklahoma Supreme Court ruling, we're to allocate a value based upon the water taken from the existing lease and allocate it based on what other water is coming from another lease. So let's just say 60% of the water is coming from the on-lease well, then we would only apply 40% value to the saltwater disposal well. As it stands, we have carried forward for the last 2 years the volumes of water that was given to us. So it's important to know, one, which wells they're taking water from, and two, the volume of water that they're taking from, and they haven't supplied either one of those components for us. Also, additionally, they were taking third-party water from other locations, which that, under their eyes, said that was deemed commercial, but they said now, I guess, that they're not doing that, so it's not a commercial. I don't know how it can be and then not.
Yeah, just for clarification there, and this gets ambiguous too when we start going through the multiple counties here, so I want to make sure that I clarified that. So I believe there's the Austin well, that's the Austin SWD, that there's one well that does take third-party water at times. It's not routine by any means, so there's always going to be, I think that they said the one well that's able to do it, that they would take third-party on. So that's where we would get into the taxability issue there of percentages and all that. But yeah, we've already argued this, so I'm fine with whatever the board rules.
Well, I'm looking on your map. I'm trying to find the Austin well on your map, and it's not on your map. Where is the Austin well?
Maybe I'm confused. That may be the Grant one, but I didn't. Again, it's kind of a big point at this. I'm fine with whatever the board rules.
Well, the board can assess a 10% penalty for failure to supply documents and for giving the information. Are you okay with that?
I'm not okay with it, Jared, but we'll see it at the next level. I mean, if you want to say that we didn't provide it, you're going to hold us to a different standard. That's fine.
No, we're not holding you to a different standard.
No, you are holding us to a different standard, Jared.
I'm not the board here. Let the board. Are you holding him to a different standard?
No.
Jeff, this is Bob.
Hey, Bob.
How are you? By your own words earlier, you indicated the struggles that you're having getting documents from these organizations because of employee turnover, and people you've been dealing with is no longer there. And I can appreciate that being a previous business owner, but that's not helping us make a decision or ascertain facts at all. Zero.
Right.
So when we was in here a month ago in November, whatever that third Wednesday, I remember specifically saying, hey, take your time, but hurry up. And we talked about, let's not provide these documents at the last minute. And here we are, fast forward a month later, we don't have anything. And I know it's because of the NDA agreement
This doesn't have anything to do with the NDA agreement. This particular map, the Sandridge and this other one, this is a totally separate issue, so.
Okay.
So this doesn't have, yeah, this map thing is a completely different company, completely different things. Matter of fact, I believe Jeff's words, I have a map on my wall in my office that I could send you.
My mistake, so.
Map on my wall in my office. No, I said I had a map. I said I had a map I can provide you. I don't have a map on my wall in my office. Please recite that one back, Jerry. I'd like to hear that one.
Okay, well, we can go back through the tapes, but that's the way they
Yeah,
were
please
told
do.
the other
Please
one.
do. I'd prefer you to do
But
that.
what I'm talking about is-
That accusation, I'll need you to back that one up. You can laugh at me all
It's
you
not
want.
an
You're
accurate.
gonna call me a liar. So it's not gonna
I'm
happen.
just saying you had one at your office. Is this the map that was at your office?
No, I have all kinds
Then
of
why didn't
maps.
you send us the-
My God, Jerry, you can interrupt me? I've got all kinds of maps, Jerry, that I have available, but I don't know, this one, they didn't have pipelines on, so I've got various well maps. I've got producing well maps, saltwater disposal well maps for various companies and clients, okay? The one I provided you was what I was able to ascertain from them. The one I had on my computer was from Grant County, which showed all the saltwater disposal wells, same similar map. I don't have anything with the pipeline in there.
So, Jeff, this is Bob again. So,
Hey, Bob.
the midstream and BCE mock is we don't have the documents because of the NDA agreement. And Sandridge's exploration production, which you provided to us, is incomplete, inaccurate. Is that a fair assessment?
Inaccurate? I'm not sure about inaccurate. We provided all the information that Jerry has asked for in years past. I mean, you said yourself, Jerry, that James or Sandridge didn't have this taxable and it's now an issue. They never provided pipeline maps to you then. Did you assess them a penalty then?
I don't know that I've got a map from them, from the other ones. There's no
Exactly.
need, there was no need for a map whenever they weren't arguing the taxability and where the wells and the volumes of wells were going to. There was no issue. Now it becomes an issue whenever you say that we're piping the water from other locations, and it's all part of the gross production.
Okay, so just to be clear, you said that it's required that they provide maps and copies of maps with the rendition. So you want to assess us a penalty this year, but
No.
not prior years.
No, I'm just saying that the board has the ability to subpoena the documents and give you 10 days to provide the documents, or they can assess you a 10% penalty. Will that help you with Sandridge and your plight to get the data that you so necessarily need to give to this board? Will that assist you a little bit more to move them to provide the information? Will that help you?
Well, I appreciate the way you worked that one. That was a little better. So yeah, if you want to do that, I can send that to them, and then their legal can deal with that, and we'll just add this to the mix.
So the board can issue a subpoena today to request a pipeline map with all the listing of the volumes, if they want to do that. Otherwise, assess a 10% penalty at failure within 10 days or whatever you want to do. Or you can assess the value and go on.
Accept the values, is that what you said?
No, I said that they could assess the values.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the board has the right to do whatever they're legally bound to do, Jerry. I mean, so if that's what the board thinks that they want to do, and then that's their call. I could just say again, Sandridge has been one of the largest taxpayers in that county and employs so many people. And I just think we're being very difficult here. And, we're trying to get to what's right, and that's fine. But now we're nitpicking and charging additional dollars and this and that. I mean, this is going to go to litigation. It's all going to come out there anyways.
Well,
if we want to be difficult until then, that's your goal, not mine. They're going to listen to your recommendation, and therefore board's gonna do what they wanna do.
Well, all I'm saying is from the sound of all the trouble that you were having, that you've gone through 4 different engineers and 2 different people. Apparently, they don't know the importance of your job and what the board's requesting of you. So maybe, a $2.5 million penalty will help them get the information here.
That's fine, Jerry. If that's what you guys wanna do, then that's your call. I can't say one way or another. I mean, if you wanna subpoena that information, I'll deliver that, and we'll go from there, and I'll work with them to get it. But again, if you think that's the right way, that's your call.
This is Chris. We don't have any way of verifying your pleadings here without verification of where your pipelines are, where your wells are. And I've looked at 8 of them, and you don't have your pipelines marked. When they cross a fence, that maybe the fence people have taken them out or something, but it's very difficult to even find your pipelines that go to your disposal wells. I just have to assume that they're within the surrounding 6 sections. We need some more help here from you.
Yeah, I understand that, but what's that argument here is taxability or not taxability. If you believe that they continue to be taxable, then sustain the value. But in all the prior years, they've never been charged a penalty for not providing this, just as most companies don't provide oil and gas maps.
They've provided everything that we've asked them when they've gone to these hearings before, or you got a penalty. That's what you can't have it both ways here, Jeff.
But last year's different, so you didn't do it last year, but now this year.
Well, last year you didn't sue either.
Yeah, we did, Jerry.
No, there's not a lawsuit for last year in this county.
Oh, okay, so basically then, we're at a 2018 Board of Equalization hearing. This has nothing to do with litigation then, so.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with litigation.
Right.
But I'm just saying that we've got to have this information. Since this time, you've litigated in Grant County, and you said you, by your own words, said this is going to litigation. We don't want litigation in Woods County. We want to get this resolved as well, but we got to have the information to do that.
And I believe your words were too, is what goes in Grant County is going to go for the others.
I don't recall saying that.
Okay, well, you did in Grant and Garfield, I believe.
Well, I'm in Woods County right now, for Christ's sake.
Exactly. Oh, my goodness.
The current value we have, fair market value, is $24,255,141. So it's what the board wants to do.
Well, since they won't provide us what information we ask, I move we accept that.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
All right, thanks, guys. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
Thanks.
Bah humbug.
Yeah, adjourn.
Wait, we didn't do,
You want to buy do you need to do it by the school district?
We got to do the minutes too.
we did,
Oh,
yeah, we
okay.
did do the minutes.
Okay, so, number 3.
Number 3, the Sand Ridge Exploration and Production. We voted no change. What am I doing here?
Right, yes. Yes, you guys voted that, yes.
And Sand Ridge Midstream, no change, and
No,
BCE Mock.
No.
Sandridge Midstream, we had to change.
Yeah, they settled, so we have no action there.
No action on Midstream.
Yeah.
Well, I think probably for the record, you should go ahead and, he agreed to, yeah, there's no action, you guys didn't vote or anything on that.
No
He
action.
agreed to it.
We agreed to the
At this point, I'm not sure.
51 to 8236 by 67.
On BCE.
He's a snake.
That's BCE. On the midstream, we didn't do anything because they settled outside of this meeting.
You want me to double check those guys?
Yes, and then we probably need to have some explanation written in there too, on We wanted
On
to
the
kind of
EV?
spell that out.
We'll give
That's
that,
on
Oh, mock, yeah.
yeah, and that, yes.
we'll give that to the operator.
Glad that's a spoon and not a fork, because I made
But we
this
need to go ahead and get 3 done.
I would
We gotta do our
probably
minutes
suggest that
before we
Maybe it's
start
the board of
recording.
equalization write a letter in the to the president and CEO of Sandridge and recommend that we've tried to get maps and stuff here and explain the situation to him. If you guys want to take the point to do that, sounds to me like they're not giving Jeff what he really needs to do his job, so I would write a letter.
That's what he was pleading today.
That's what he was pleading today. I would write a letter to President CEO referring those remarks, saying that he's not getting cooperation from the company to assist in evaluations, and it's very
I
important.
think that'd be smart.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think they're, like he was saying, they had turnover out here, they got a big turnover in Oklahoma
Yeah,
City.
they do, and if they do, that's fine, but if they're not giving him the information that he needs, then he needs some other assistance.
You handle
That's
that?
the case.
Can you handle that? You write it and we sign it.
We can go down to the DA and
Yeah.
help us.
DA can do that, okay.
That's who needs to write something
Yeah.
like that, yes.
I mean, sometimes it helps, it helps with penalties and stuff like that, saying if you don't do this, it's gonna cost you X in that situation. So and it's not trying to be advantageous, it's just trying to get the,
He jumped us to
They're
here.
motivated.
Well, when it goes to the
We
next
never
step,
did
I assume it's gonna probably park in the district court, and they're gonna shuffle it off to Oklahoma City on the general.
well, yeah, but that still costs us legal fees and legal time to get the answers that we need to start with.
I didn't know I've got them signed, the sign was back, sorry.
Well, if there's a Supreme Court ruling that says this is
I don't have
taxable,
any signed ones.
what in the
That was the
world,
last
why don't
one.
they give us the information so you can determine what's eligible for taxation and what's not?
Thank you. I'm gonna
It's
find
gonna be
it later.
difficult.
It's all good.
I don't think he likes me.
You think? That's fine, Gary. That's fine, Gary. He used the word litigation 73 times.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine. I mean,
okay,
I just
just
don't
make
think he
sure.
likes me. I mean, I'm sorry, I did everything I possibly can. I'm not trying to be, I don't treat him any different than I treat
You
anyone
tried to
else.
help him get this information, he wouldn't even,
No,
but this must not be a big deal with him because he's driving, so.
You called, you made note of what our recourse could conceivably be.
right, and I
And
want
he
to say
kept
maybe that
saying
would
you
help.
was threatening him.
No, that would help him to let Sandridge know the deal, but now then that he's laid this on the doorstep of Sandridge not doing that, I think a letter from them to either, give him some assistance or, Sandridge come back and say, well, here's your maps.
Somebody's got those maps
Absolutely.
posted on, I mean, there's no question about that. They
If
got,
Stan Young was still out here, I might be able to go see him and go get him.
where's the corporation commission on this thing? I mean,
They're not obligated to give, that's a non-regulated entity.
yeah, but they've got them, they've got them. Because they gotta have permits for the saltwater disposals.
Okay, I think we'll just go to next year.
Well, I'm just glad to hear that I wasn't the only one having a hard time finding their pipelines.
No, there was no markers going, I mean, obviously,
Very
if you
few
go to the
markers.
next well in the
Sure.
next section, there's a big compressor or the electric three-phase motor sitting there, but where's the pipeline go? You know,
You can't, off location,
yeah, you're done.
just about done. Yeah, there are very few markers out there.
For those, because it's a saltwater well, if I hit saltwater well, it's gonna be saltwater, and it's gonna be explosion.
And I noticed, under a lease agreement, you can lay your pipelines under that spacing unit. You
When
can,
you cross the spacing,
when you cross that spacing unit, you better
you
have
gotta
a
buy
right of
right
way.
away. Yeah,
And there are right of ways all over the records up there.
which is what,
Yeah.
because there's also a pipeline leaving that location too,
So, I
for
mean,
gas.
I found a few, but I didn't find nearly what I should be marked. You're right. You're exactly right. There was,
well, on the solo well out there, that was one of fairly close to highway I looked at. There's Chaparral well is within very close distance of that. And I'm looking to see if there's a pipeline going
From
from
it?
that well somewhere, because,
The only one that we noticed there was an offload, there was actually which one was the Phillips?
Yeah.
The Phillips actually has a way for the truck water into the location. So it's, another thing, he said these were all closed loop systems
yeah,
in there, but on the Phillips well, they actually have a truck that drives in there and unloads water from another location.
yeah. Well, you know, when they're calling these wells Sand Ridge Energy Inc., and the leases are taken, the right-of-ways are taken under E&P LLC, there's a difference there for some reason. I know what their accounting's going to show, because they don't want the liability of a saltwater disposal well being against their production well.
Right.
They, you know, they don't want that. So if there's a name difference and their accounting difference, it's not the same group, you know, obviously, it's family.
Yeah, and even if, you know, I had an operator try to take some other wells where he was taking his own water that he brought he said, well, I'll bring those other wells under the operating manual. That doesn't do it, it's still off lease. So that's what the Supreme Court decided. Is if it's from another lease, it's commercial.
Yes.
So that's the whole thing. I mean, if it's an off lease, I believe that even these on lease wells are probably commercial too, because they're held at a different entity.
Yeah, yeah, you know, they just think we're a bunch of dumb farmers out here is what they think.
I don't like his attitude. Frustrates me to no end. And it's not smart to frustrate the people that are voting on what you're saying.
Maybe you can address that in your letter.
His attitude sucks. But that's typical litigating a lawyer.
He's just a tax rep, so he's not a lawyer.
Well, yeah. Well, he's just a tax rep. No, he's no lawyer.
No, he's not a lawyer.
Give me
He's
too
just-
much credit.
He's
Golly.
just been coached on lawyer words.
Okay. Wow.
So you can.
I'm not a lawyer either, but I did say a Holiday Inn Express last night.
That's good, yeah.
Okay. I like
That
that.
was a good one, Ben.
And then they want to,
Yes,
I don't know.
okay. So you didn't think we got the minutes done either? I didn't either.
Okay, all right, I'm probably wrong.
Well, he was on the phone already.
Yes, and we went right into this, so.
So
We did the quorum, we just need to approve or disapprove the minutes of the last meeting. Okay,
Move approved.
I'll say it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then we need number 5.
Number 5, possible action regarding the disclosing of the Equalization Board protest session.
Are we done?
I think we're.
I think so.
Let's take action
I move
regarding
close it.
closing. Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now the motion to adjourn,
So move.
I'll second.
all in favor?
See you guys at 1:30.